But I want to go ahead and give us a chance to get started and remind people that there's no wrong way to do this. So if sitting in a chair is helpful to you, go ahead. You're also welcome to lay down on the ground or a bed or wherever you feel the most comfortable for about 15 to 20 minutes of reflection here. And today we're really fortunate and grateful to be joined by Dr. Emily Reamer Berry, who is joining us. She's the chair of the Theology and Religious Studies Department. She's been at USD for 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there amount of years. And so she's definitely not a new hat. She's been around for a while, and we're really delighted for her to offer us an EXAMEN, a seasonal EXAMEN. And so I'll let her take it away. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Erin. I'm delighted to be with all of you today. I invite you to sit in a comfortable position. You can close your eyes or not. Together, we will move through the 5 steps of today's EXAMEN with a focus on death. Stick with me now. It's okay if this is a little hard, but reflecting on death can be a helpful spiritual practice. It can teach us about where we are and how God is with us here. Various religious traditions have meditations on death, from Ignatian meditations on the cross, a Christian practice, to Buddhist Maranasani meditations, to Hindi reflections on Mrityu. We join these practitioners today. Before we begin, let's acknowledge how heavy this can feel. We are living in a pandemic, facing rising numbers of coronavirus infections every day. Vulnerable patients, immunocompromised persons, communities of color, first responders, and the elderly remain at increased risk. Many people in our communities are grieving. Some have witnessed loved ones die. Some wanted nothing more than to witness their loved ones transition to death, but could not be there because of COVID restrictions at hospitals and nursing homes. Maybe you've been to your first Zoom funeral this year. We are living in difficult times in which death seems to be all around us. And in the midst of this pandemic, we are growing ever more conscious of systemic racial injustice, the destruction of the natural world, fear and anxiety in the political landscape. We witness death. It can feel hard and heavy, many gone too soon. Death is around us in other ways in this season. We're nearing the celebration of Halloween. As decorations go up, children can express their fear about things that are scary. Scary clowns, ghosts, skeletons. Adults too have fears. Those may come up for you today. In Mexican culture, the Day of the Dead is an opportunity to pray for and remember friends and family members who have died. In the Catholic liturgical calendar, we're nearing All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, November 1st and 2nd. These two remind us that the boundary between the living and the dead is very thin. Our dearly departed remain with us in our hearts, in loving memory, in the stories we tell, and the memories we share. African religions and many indigenous cultures have rituals to celebrate the ancestors and their living memory. Let us sit now in the presence of the Holy One, who is life itself, who is beyond time and space. Let us sit in our mortal bodies and feel the loving embrace of the one who loves us now and forever. We begin with step 1. Become aware of God's presence now and as you ponder death. Let's take some time to feel that we are in the mind and body with a mindful check-in. Feeling any sensations, any holdings, any tightness in the body, as well as feeling into your mood, feeling into our emotions, and just acknowledging whatever's being felt and letting be. Just feeling how we are with awareness and acknowledging whatever there is to be felt. Now, very gently, withdrawing the awareness from the mindful check-in, let's bring our attention to our breath. Being mindful of the breath in the abdomen, expanding on an inhalation and falling on an exhalation. Breathing in and breathing out with awareness. Breathing normally and naturally, feeling the rise and fall of the abdomen. This type of mindful breathing can help us calm down when we're feeling anxious or feeling fearful. Just to be mindful of the breath coming in and going out. Breathing in and out with awareness. We can remind ourselves of how breath is a symbol for Christians of the presence of the living God, animating creation and bringing new life. The breath can remind us of the presence of God in our lives and how we need God in our lives like we need each breath we take. That God is as close to us as the air we breathe. That we are totally dependent on God. That all is gift. Let us turn our focus to our death. Let us carve out space not only for thinking of our breath as we are alive, but also reflecting on the reality that someday our bodies will cease to be. How are you aware of death? Sit for a moment with that awareness. Begin with the awareness of your breath, that your body is alive. Now I invite you to sit with the awareness that it will not always be so. My God, my Creator, I feel totally dependent on you in this gift of breath and this gift of life. Everything is a gift from you. All is gift. I give you thanks and praise for the gifts of today, the gifts of my life. We move then to step 2, to review our life and inevitable death with gratitude. Perhaps we want to express gratitude for our breath, gratitude for the clean air that goes through our nostrils, gratitude for the space in which we sit, gratitude for the time for this meditation. For what else are you grateful? As you look back over your life, the scope of your experience so far, hold in your awareness those people who have loved you, those places in which you have felt most alive. Moments of beauty, experiences of loss, feelings of accomplishment, the desolation of heartache. What would it mean for you to accept your life and your inevitable death with gratitude? We move to step 3, where we pay attention to our emotions about death. What is coming up for you as you think about your own inevitable death? Are you remembering someone who has died? Are you thinking about what would happen to those you love if you were to die? I invite you to sit with your emotions about death. Do you feel sadness? Do you feel fear? Do you feel anger? Do you feel peace? Be with whatever feeling is coming up for you. These contemplations can surface many difficult emotions, and that's okay. Just be in the presence of those feelings without judgment, shame, or blame. God, I believe you work through and in time to reveal me to myself. Please give me an increased awareness of how you are shaping my life and what these feelings might mean for me, and how these feelings invite me to know myself as you know me. We move to step 4, where we choose one feature of the reality of death and pray with it. So far in this meditation, what has been sticking with you? Are you drawn to a reflection on the Paschal Mystery? Perhaps the Christian claim that new life comes from death, the promise of resurrection after suffering? Or perhaps you're drawn to a reflection on what it means to be human, the fact that humans age, we get sick, we face conflict, that the world is always changing, that in some way to be human is to die. Let's sit with whatever is sticking for you, praying with the reality of death. We move to step 5. We look towards tomorrow. Some people say that reflection on death can make life itself seem more precious. There's a church in Rome whose crypt walls are decorated with skulls and bones of Capuchin friars and Romans long ago dead. A plaque in one of the chapels reads in 3 languages, "What you are now, we were once. What we are now, you shall be." The bones of the dead speaking, "What you are now, we were once. What we are now, you shall be." When people have artistic reminders about the inevitability of death, this is called a memento mori. So, in some ways, today's examen is a memento mori for each of us. It's an invitation to move through the rest of our day and into tomorrow with renewed awareness. Sit for a minute with the message of today's memento mori for you. For some, it can be a call to action, a call to life with a particular kind of awareness about what is sacred, about what we treasure, about what our priorities are in our remaining time, knowing that time is short. We'll conclude today by attending again to our breath, this time with renewed awareness of the gift of our breath. We close by remembering those who breathe no longer, even as we breathe. Some names you might recognize, some you might not. And in the end, I'll ask you to share the names of your own dearly departed. George Floyd. George cannot breathe. Breonna Taylor. Breonna cannot breathe. Tatiana Jefferson. Tatiana cannot breathe. Ara Rosser. Ara cannot breathe. Freddie Gray. Freddie cannot breathe. Tamir Rice. Tamir cannot breathe. I witness thousands of Black lives lost. I witness I can breathe. We remember deaths at adult immigration detention centers. James Thomas Hill. James cannot breathe. Kwan Hua Lee. Kwan cannot breathe. Onaval Perez Montufa. Onaval cannot breathe. Santiago Baten Osle. Santiago cannot breathe. Carlos Ernesto Escobar Mejia. Carlos cannot breathe. I have become a witness to death, lives lost to coronavirus. Robert Mendoza. Robert cannot breathe. Mona Weiss. Mona cannot breathe. Elizabeth Kikuchi Yamada. Elizabeth cannot breathe. Lynn Nybert. Lynn cannot breathe. Joseph Bonduk. Joseph cannot breathe. As of today, 1,164,755 global deaths due to coronavirus. I invite you to say aloud any names of loved ones lost in any way, loved ones lost and those for whom you grieve. We breathe in and we breathe out. We breathe in and we breathe out. We can breathe. And we end by asking, how will God use my breath, my voice, my life?